All right, so in this exercise, we're going to go over who versus whom. So here's the deal. The word who is the nominative case, so you'll use who for subjects or predicate nominatives. You'll use the word whom for direct objects, objects of a prepositions, indirect objects, anywhere where you would use the objective case. And a lot of times, these words are used in a subordinate clause, and they'll start subordinate clauses. They'll be the first word. Like here we have who called, or whom I called. And they'll have a subject and a verb, like here's a subject and a verb, and then here's a direct object, a subject and a verb. And so what you have to do is you have to find where the clause starts and ends, and then decide whether this is doing the action or receiving the action. So let's do a couple of these. Below you have to underline the subordinate clause in each one. So like number 1, we have who the goalie was. There's our subordinate clause. And the goalie here is our subject, and was is a linking verb. And after a linking verb, if you use a pronoun, that's called a predicate nominative, which has to be in the nominative case, which is why we say who and not whom. So this is a predicate nominative. This word, although it's at the front of the clause, it's actually kind of, in a way, after the word was. We're saying the goalie was who. And that's kind of confusing, but that's this here, that's why who versus whom is so tough, is that they put these words out of the traditional order. One way to work on it is just find the subject and the verb, and then this will be after the verb unless it is the subject. Number 2, the woman, and then here's our who wrote that book. So here is a subject, and here is a verb. The difference between this clause and this clause is, look, we have a word here in front of the verb that is not the word who, but here the word who is touching the verb. When the word who is touching the verb, it's going to be the subject of that verb. So this one is a subject. Now, subjects and predicate nominatives use the same word, the nominative case, which is the word who. So that's why these are the same. Number 3, the boy with whom I was sitting. Here is our clause right here, whom I was sitting. So here we have the subject here and the verb. Now the reason we have the word whom here is for a little bit different reason. This is not a direct object. I'm not sitting on a person here. This actually is what's called an object of a preposition because it comes after the word with, which is a preposition. One way to find out if a word is a preposition is see if it works in the sentence frame. The cat walked blank the box. And the cat walked with the box works. So this here is after a preposition, so this is an object of a preposition. So that is why we use the word whom, because object is in the objective case. So object of a preposition is in the objective case, and whom is the objective choice. Number 4, Coco Chanel was a designer, and then here is our clause, whom many others have imitated. Here is our subject, we have many others, and our verb. Now imitated is not a linking verb, so that means the word whom here receives the imitation, and that makes it a direct object. So since it's a direct object, you're going to use the objective case. And number 5, we enjoyed our visit with Mr. Cullen, whom we had not seen for months. So here is our subject, we, and here's our verb, had not seen. Now, seen here is not a linking verb, so that means that this will not be a predicate nominative. This right here is the person that receives the not being seen, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but we had not seen whom, and it's this word right here, whom, which connects to Mr. Cullen. Anyway, this is the DO as well. Okay, so down below, go ahead and do 6 through 15, and in a second I'll go over the answers. All right, so here are the answers for 6 through 15. Number 1 is who. It's a predicate nominative. Here is the clause. It starts here and ends here. Here's our subject. The next volunteer, here's our linking verb, so that means who is a predicate nominative. Number 7, we can't remember who. Now this time the clause, here's the clause, who is the subject to the verb played. Notice how it's touching that verb. When you have like who or whom touching a verb, it's going to be a subject, I think, every time. I can't think of any exception to that. Number 8, here we have it again. Who has been selected. Here's our verb. So it's touching that verb, so it's going to be who. Dr. Brooks is a woman who I greatly admire. So here is that clause. Here's the clause. Here's the verb, I greatly admire, and here's the subject. Now, admire is not a linking verb, so that means that we'll have a direct object over here. I admire whom, and the answer here is whom. And that's a direct object to the verb admire. Number 10, do you know with whom Raskolnikov plotted? So here is our clause, and subject and verb. Now this here is a preposition, with. The cat walked with the box, so we need an object of a preposition, so that's going to be the word whom. Number 11, Ms. Quarles, and then here's our clause, whom I met at the trial. Notice how it's not touching the verb. The verb is met. Here's the subject. Now met is not a linking verb, so we won't have a predicate nominative. We'll have a direct object, and that means the objective case, so we're going to say whom. Number 12, who or whom is your favorite poet? Here's our verb. Is our verb. And look, this word choice is touching the verb is. If it's touching the verb, then it's going to be the subject, which means the nominative case, so we're going to say who. 13, have you decided who or whom you will vote for on Tuesday? So here's our clause. Here's our subject. Here's our verb within that. You will vote. Here we have the person receiving the voting. So we're going to say whom. And actually this is not a direct object. This is tricky. They've moved the object to the preposition. You will vote for whom on Tuesday, so this is an OP. It doesn't matter though. It's not touching a verb, it's not going to be a subject, and vote is not a linking verb. So it doesn't meet any of the criteria for the nominative case, so there's another way to think of it. And then 14, who or whom can I rely upon to take care of my pets while I am on vacation? Here is our verb, and notice it is, okay, so actually, oh man, this one's tricky. It is touching the verb, but it's not doing the verb. The person it's I can rely upon whom right here. So just like this was moved to the front, but it really belongs after this preposition, this word belongs here next to this preposition, because the subject is not whom can rely, it's I can rely upon whom. And so this is actually whom, and it's an object of a preposition. So here's an exception to kind of what I said before about how words touching verbs are probably going to be the subject. If we have like this situation here with a helping verb and then the subject and then the main verb, that's tricky because here's the actual subject. And then this is what's called a helping verb, can, and here's the main verb right here. That's an H. Oh well. Okay, 15. Carol knows who or whom won the contest. So here's our clause. Here's our verb. This is the subject to won, who won, so we're going to say who. All right, so that's who versus whom.